Good afternoon, everyone, and I'd like to welcome you to the Housing Committee meeting on November the 2nd, and the time being 1:07 p.m. Can I have an approval of the agenda? Siobhan? Any need to make an amendment?
We're going to approve it.
First we approve it, then we amend it. All right, thank you.
I'll second.
Second, okay, Malcolm. Discussion? Yes, Malcolm.
Oh, no discussion.
Well,
Yeah, as for discussion on the first one, so.
Okay. All right.
And we will.
Okay, now we need to change it though.
Vote.
We vote still? Okay, all right, thank you. All in favor? Pass, thank you.
Now I'd like to make a motion.
Okay, yes, Malcolm?
What was it? I wasn't paying full attention.
Thank you.
To
BNA.
move, which one are we moving?
Motion to move 4B to 4A
Motion to move 4B to 4A
and 4A to 4B.
and 4A to 4B.
Thank you. Siobhan? And seconded by Tia, all in favor? Approved. Okay, the adoption of the minutes. So can I have approval of the minutes? If everybody's in favor of them? Tia? Second, Siobhan? All in favor? Approved. Okay. Recommendation that the minutes of the housing, oh, I read that too late. New business. So up first, project kickoff, McDermott Construction, expression of interest number 20-147. RA and Ross, you're in the room. Are you ready to go?
Yeah.
Okay. If you can step up to that, you can use the mic. Yep.
All right. Do I have to talk into this thing?
If you can, if you're not too tall. As long as you're loud.
Is there people online?
Yeah, so we were selected to do the plans for the town of this district of Sycamores. To provide some secondary suite plans for sale to people. And here's some we like to design some small to medium size modest homes that thing. It's like honest materials, durable materials. So today we're presenting like 7 different floor plans, just concepts. They look like they're a little more fleshed out, but I just designed AutoCAD, so it's looks a little bit more official, but it's concept. So we provide 2 or 3 different roof options. Here's 3 roof options on the slide there. Just your traditional gable and a shed roof, like more, I guess, contemporary, and then a flat roof, more modern. And here is like we're showing like a little bit of wood accent on the entrance. That's kind of what we would, as much wood as we want, because it's cost wise. But anyways, we can talk about that more later. And then note that sorry on that last one, that one wasn't a project. That wasn't one of the concept designs. That was just a previous job, but first off, we got this really quite small option, just so it fits into multiple sites. Into the little area. So there's the one that's 12 by 20. 1 bedroom, and you can have a loft on there. I'm not sure exactly what the rules are on floor area for lofts, Sarah. I think it's a gray area. If the height is a certain height, it might be a little. It might not include the loft area in the floor space, so it's kind of bonus area possibly.
Probably only on the larger ones, like when we get into this, there is square bigger, that's when the lot might be an issue.
Okay,
Through the chair.
sounds good. So yeah, these are some
Any other
concepts that I was saying, but yeah, you. Do I have access to like a mouse that I can point through and that people can see, or no?
We have a pointer.
Sure, yeah.
I do, will people see it? I have this like little. This whole thing.
All right, can I just ask you a question? Would you prefer that we wait until after you present to ask our questions?
Yeah, I think
Or-
just ask away.
Ask away, okay, so there'll be, yeah, all right. Okay, thank you.
Switch the slides and there's a pointer on this, like for. Well, either way, that's okay, we'll just.
See the through the chair and then you'll know.
Oh, okay, well, whatever. We'll just-
You have a question?
Through the chair, just first question is, these are built for our area, right? So roof lines and with all our snow and all that good stuff, these are designed to live in Sycamoose and be functional where someone doesn't have the roof caving in.
Totally, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, through the chair, same as Councillor Rich's question. The three different roof designs with the flat roof, I would think you'd need more structural support or bar and gravel or something. I'm not sure, but and so for the three different roof designs for our winter conditions, are there different costs associated with each type?
Yes, there are,
Could you run through each and say roughly?
Yeah, obviously the traditional roof would be the most cost effective. Yeah, look at the metal thing or whatever. At both being the most economical, I guess. Shed roof, it's a little more so contemporary, one mono slope roof. Probably about the same.
Yeah, and depending, I mean, it's really comes down to the longevity, so. If you want a lifetime roof on a low slope, you go to standing seam, so. It's depending on what one appeals to you or what one is gonna conform to a height requirement. That flexibility that would offer the potential owner, whether they want to replace the roof in 20 years or whether they want as a lifetime 100-year roof. So that cost could be, they can deliberate and figure it out what they want to price with. Low maintenance or off the bat cost effectiveness.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
And as for the flat roofs, yeah, sorry, back to that question, your 2-ply FBF or a bunch of your commercial stuff downtown here would have that very same.
A little more expensive to do that. It's torch on you, but you can also have like a green roof option. And, or like just a ballast, like a rock ballast to help with membrane longevity. So the membrane will deteriorate in the sun. What is it, 25 to 30 years?
It extends, it could extend to about 50 years.
And then you add something that like rock ballast, then structural gets involved. So is that right? You're adding rock ballast, so there's trade-offs there too.
Many variables,
Yeah,
depending on the situation and the customer, and yeah, it's nice to kind of have an idea. Okay,
And these do conform to part-time building code, meaning you
Okay.
have a little bit more flexibility as far as location of a window or a door. It's not a engineered structure with fixed point loads that you cannot move a post or pigeonhole yourself through the structure. A lot more flexible.
Justin?
thank you. We have somebody online? Do we?
Yeah. Steve, did you want to say something?
sounded like he was. Just, yeah, maybe.
Talking to somebody else in this
Yeah.
office, maybe, okay. All right, continue then, please.
Okay, we'll just go to the next
Okay.
plan here. I guess like.
Yeah, you can,
Oh, wait. Oh, okay, here we go. And okay, that's better.
Let's just do board with that. I personally never have luck with that.
Yeah, there were 7 plans, like I was saying. These were the smallest ones, single bedroom, maybe you could have a bed locked. Cool. This is another interesting one where we got this bedroom, living in flat space. Kind of more like maybe a bachelor suite, and then the kitchen dining all in the middle. And each one, you can kind of have an optional carport on, depending on site again,
Mhm.
how you want to lay it out. Carport or breezeway, you can attach it to the building somehow. To the existing house that's on site. Otherwise, you can just put it without, and then the footprint is a lot smaller, so you put it into like a back again. And this one's tight, it's got a fold out Murphy bed. And also a loft on this one. So if anybody has any questions along the way, let me.
something.
Maybe through the chair, as you go through these, is it possible to give us a range of price on each option?
Well, there's a square foot on each one, and we're doing between 200 and 250 a square foot. Each option, so 600 square foot. 50.
Okay.
And that is,
Yeah,
it's like all bills that's sort of in the client's hands.
Right,
Whether they want gold faucets or they're happy with black ABS.
right.
right. Yeah. No, that makes sense. Yeah.
Through the chair, if their clients want to be frugal, it could be 200 to 250 a square foot.
Absolutely, yeah.
This one is candidate for acceptable option. Got more 600 square foot, 1 bedroom, so got more room for. This one is not necessarily, this plan that I'm showing here is not, I would make a few modifications to that just to make it accessible.
Okay.
This is the elevate entrance block or whatever you want to call it. This one works really well, I think, just on sites where, you know, you're driving down the side against the property line and then you're parking right there. And you can, because it's got a 12-foot, 12-foot dimension. That's the wide dimension, and so we can squeeze it in. I think you turn it around like a Tetris block into a certain spot. That's
Okay.
there.
I-
And, yeah.
I have a question on this one. So there's no windows marked on that one?
Yeah, that's,
And so which poses a question, how flexible are you depending on the site to have the windows like this, same size windows, same everything, but let's just position them in
All sites.
all site specific. Okay, good.
That was my
Okay,
the property line. And
right.
Through the chair, this is not including the foundation, right? Is that correct?
Not including foundation.
Like putting a slab down to build this on? So if I go 525 times 250, I get $140,000, then I still got to put my slab down, right?
That's that type specific, so whether it's gonna be crawl space or floating slab on grade, which ultimately it's often dependent on
But that's on top of the price.
your desired HVAC You would have a crawl covered here, but if it requires a geotech, for instance, and they want you to scrape an additional 3 feet up and bring it up in compacted lifts, or that certainly wouldn't be included. Also, servicing infrastructure, like everything outside the footprints of construction of this house, bringing power in, there's way too many variables there that
Okay.
include that in a square foot.
Okay,
cost.
No, just so I know where we're going from.
So municipal offsites as well, that would not be factored in.
So would there be a base foundation, like minimum foundation is included in this or not? Crawl space or whatever?
Yeah, you need cross, so there's and go.
And then anything that, because of the
Yeah.
subdivision has to be added on. So that's like, sorry, I'm on my calculator. I'm like, wow, this is good.
Obviously.
Okay, thank you.
Anything under the 351 meter mark. Yeah,
Cost
it's
go up.
Gonna go up.
Okay.
Yeah.
And as, through the chair, as a committee, we're looking at recommendations to council to maybe site specifically change that requirement because it's a blanket throughout the town. And really, it only needs to apply in our floodplain areas. So I think we're,
Yeah, I'm unaware if you guys require a geo and everything like now. Municipality of San Marcos, for instance, even if you're on flat land in a field, they still want a geo on record. And I'm not sure if the district requires that or.
we're looking at a variance to that 350.
that's a yes.
Through the chair, according to our building official, not right now.
Okay, there's slow. Or it is. Right, you got grade 117%. Yeah, I gotcha.
But through the chair, am I
Yes.
right in saying that we're looking at a variance to the 351?
I think, well, I do know that you are looking at, right?
Yeah.
You are. So that's something to consider because that will make things
Cheaper, less expensive.
less expensive and more uniform and an easier process moving forward.
Through the chair.
Yes.
So we did follow up with Brian Anderson.
Mhm.
Came to talk to you folks about floodplain and impacts. And he was saying it would add about $10,000 to the cost in the areas that are more impacted by floodplain. And that would be parts of the neighborhood that are down south of Capel.
Mhm.
Those that get a lot closer to the water and are more severely impacted. And of course, this side,
Right.
right, of the 97 is impacted by the floodplain. So, but the bulk of our neighborhood on the east side of 97A and going north up towards the highway, it's pretty minimal.
Okay.
So we are looking at a variance, right?
No.
Well, we can make that as a recommendation.
Thought we were.
Sorry. Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, I understood it, or maybe we talked about it. Not council. Okay, continue on.
Okay, any questions about that one? Yeah, we all stack washer and drop it before, if we can do it side by side, but usually it'll be like one of those stubby hot water tanks.
Yep.
Or you can have hot water on demand, and then we've been talking about doing air to air, like a mini split.
Okay,
Or air to water, since you guys are all electric here,
right.
there's no gas, the air to water.
Look, dependent with the high.
I mean-
upfront cost.
Sorry, I got no clue.
No, air to water heat pump,
Oh, heat pump, okay.
so, the upfront cost is, a lot higher, but. What's the range, maybe like 8 to 13,000?
Yeah, it might be 25-30% more than your typical HVAC, and then if you were to want AC on top of that, that's one benefit of the electric heat pump is you get your AC with your heating. It's just a matter of putting a chiller coil and fan over the house and then you have your AC as well as
Mhm.
options in for heating, like hydronic heat, not just forced air off of your water.
So again,
In Vancouver, it's
Yeah.
since gas is being exited there, this is where most of them are going. And the issue was, performance below -20. That's where your COP, your coefficient of performance would drop.
Mhm.
And now, I believe it's called ERV, this technology allows it to continue to perform at about 150% COP.
Good.
-20,
That,
rather than just shut down your secondary.
yeah, well, that's pretty good.
Absolutely.
But again, site specific, owner specific, what's the cost? Here's your base price now. A, B, C, or D, which one do you want? A, B, C, or D, and then hone it back. It's a process that each owner will go through. Okay, cool.
Okay, next one. This one, sideways, but, this is a 2-story. I was calling it a dice cube. It's like basically 18 by 18. The only way it fits within the bylaw height is, flat roof on this one, or extremely low slope pitch.
Okay.
But yeah, this one, you got 2-bedroom upstairs, living, kitchen.
Through the chair.
Yes,
So what's the height on this?
I've got, this one's at like 19 feet, 18 to the top of the roof, and there's a parapet about foot high.
So if you attach a garage to it and it's a coach house, it can go up to 8 meters, which is 26.
so add a garage to this? Or a carport or just a garage?
I'll have to look at our definition to see
Okay.
if coach house includes carport.
Yeah,
I think it depends whether garage is conditioned or not.
yeah, okay,
That's typically how it works with carriage.
okay,
If they want to squeeze the double, well, that's deemed unconditioned, and then you get your 966 feet of conditioned space outside of that.
okay.
Whereas if you were to condition the garage,
Yeah,
So
we don't
it's-
include the garage as part of the floor area.
yeah, okay, whether conditioned or not.
Yeah. But there's a technicality where if it's a coach house, which is where.
Bedrooms on, living down.
Every building,
Mhm.
not.
Yeah,
Seems
but
reasonable.
you didn't lose some flexibility on the pitch, if the neighbors all have a 8-12 pitch, they won't have to be forced into a 40. Kind of look like
Yeah.
modular.
Not exactly.
This one, the footprint is like 18 feet by 18, so it's pretty, you can put it into, tuck it into the corners here and there. Yeah.
Okay.
This was like this is the coach house, 2-car garage, got your stairs going up here, 2-bedroom, 2-bed suite. Yeah. Got your main floor entrance. But you go right upstairs right away, but you got your mechanical room on the main floor of this one. So it frees up a little bit more room here.
Would this in fact then be a coach house?
This one is.
Okay, so that's what classifies it is with the garage. Okay. Any other questions?
Yeah, through the chair on. Yeah, on net. With the 2-bedroom, the 18 by 18,
Go back.
Oh,
it's showing appliances in there, but at a build up, say 250 square foot, that doesn't include appliances, does it?
There's no allowance for appliances. No.
I didn't think so. Yeah, okay.
And that again, you would get a $12,000 rate for $200.
Yeah, there's the coach house again, like balconies too, we can site specific, you don't want to be overlooking at your neighbors. And stuff like that. And on this plan, you have a balcony off your kitchen, off your living room, or off at the front. Which also would provide cover for your entrance. That kind of thing. Yeah. This is the last one I kind of wanted to try to fit. Like the 3-bedroom, to try to fit a 3-bedroom. So yesterday, so I put this together yesterday, and it's the kitchen and the living area is a bit tight, but I was able to fit 3 bedrooms. And then this would be a possible loft. I don't know if it'd be allowed based on the floor area. But that whole central portion could be a loft area for additional living. That's, yeah. Yeah, it's, bad.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's kind of, I guess I had 8 concepts. Yeah, I don't go any windows, but yeah, the orientation. Site specific.
Okay, and my one question I have is on all of the plans, as far as closet space goes, which we all know storage is key. So is there, you know, if we needed to squeeze a closet into there,
This is tight.
that one would be tight, other than that one single bedroom, but yeah,
This one here, it's got, the 2 queen size beds and bedrooms there, and they got a wardrobe system there,
right,
3 boxes in each room. And, this one's tight again. That 1 bedroom is more of a guest bedroom or an office,
mhm,
flex, I guess. And, yeah, you can fit a wardrobe into that. Bedroom there too. This one's got a lot more storage.
okay. It reminds me of European housing.
That's
I was just there in September, and bedrooms are small, but it's like the IKEA model, right? You bring in,
It's built in.
and it's,
And a closet.
yeah, it's just a store, it's a,
And when you're dealing with such a small square footage, I mean. Most anyone who's going to live in 400 or 500 feet,
yeah,
maybe they've come from living in a van and they're pretty good. At
Correct.
It's
true,
An upgrade from another.
yeah.
true, no, that's good, that's a good point to make, but I just wanted to.
Yeah.
Okay,
Parents.
yes, question, Siobhan?
Through the chair. What's on the outside? So we're all panicking about fires. You guys.
Yeah, so
have
that's
had,
why we I think mentioned it right up there that you either plaster or corrugated metal. And then you can pick your accent, which is typically like a recessed entry.
wood, yeah.
Yeah, something
Okay.
like that. That would be up to the client, obviously, whether they want to fully fireproof or maybe make things more interesting by adding a bit of wood on there. But yeah, metal roof, plaster or metal siding.
Thank you.
Anything your soffits, so like that again would be either aluminum or steel.
Mhm.
Through the chair,
Yes,
would that have something to do with insurance? With the, you know, with,
Oh, it affects your premium, obviously, like when you fill your, you apply for a policy there. You've got to put your siding in the roof and the rest of it, it would certainly affect your premium.
mhm. The other thing I'm just thinking to add to either the package that we're giving out is course of construction insurance, just making each resident homeowner aware that they need to do that.
And quite often.
Yeah,
people
it's not.
Halfway through a project,
Yeah.
the architect or the builder has taken care of that, that is always on
Yeah.
that client.
I think it's like,
They-
put a big star beside it. They've got to apply for cost of construction
And you
insurance.
throw them a nugget.
Yeah.
Tell them that COC can be rolled over to your house insurance by
Yeah.
the same provider,
Okay,
which makes it really simple and
okay, good point. Thank you. Any other questions? Siobhan?
Through the chair. Any recommendations you would give us? Because we've been sitting here for about 18 months and none of us have ever built a house have we ever built a house? Maybe?
I've been.
You design,
I've
the inside,
the construction.
it's on the inside. But is there anything that you would say to us, hey, have you looked at this or have you thought of this? Or we've done this before because we're doing our best, but.
I think the most important thing beyond explaining to the builder, the finishes, so ultimately that end budget number rests on you and your taste. But the servicing infrastructure and like geotech or floodplain and power, perhaps there's a way that you could shed some light, on that when you're applying or picking this plan up, is because it's so dependent on that lot location. And does the existing home have 100-amp panel, then you're never piggybacking off that? Do you want the meters separate so you can rent set? Like all of that has just such a massive bearing on the end number. And I think there's a lot of smoke and mirrors typically for someone who's just coming and clicking on a mouse by a plan. Those can, unforeseen or latent defects on the lot, if you want to call it that, they can really throw somebody out as far as that number in their head. And we always find that with clients that it comes as a surprise quite often. So we try to approach that subject right off the bat.
Sarah, you had a comment or a question?
Through the chair. Yeah, so I'm making note of these, thank you.
Yeah.
In terms of, so the committee does want to have like a really nice pamphlet that covers off a broad range of information. So that would be a good place for those. In terms of, stuff that the homeowner has control of. And I think the district has already been looking at things that the district can control. So currently, development cost charges don't apply to secondary dwellings. So you wouldn't be asking for that.
No DCC?
No DCCs, and currently, I don't.
Even a second one?
I don't know that, I wouldn't imagine, since it's kind of a priority to help get housing going. I don't know if that's up to our council. And then the other thing is we don't currently require people to have a separate service unless they want or a separate water. That's a choice.
Yeah.
So then it really comes down to what the existing infrastructure is like on the property. Is the water line adequately sized? Is the electrical panel adequately sized? So there's some options there.
That's good to hear.
Yeah.
And an emphasis on budgeting, like always having a contingency in there. Typically 10% the total bill cost. And that is not so someone can get the gold toilet. That is so someone can not be so shook when an unforeseen comes up that costs $15,000 is worked into that budget as a contingency after your subtotal.
So like there happens to be an old septic tank sitting right where you want to put your.
That is.
Yes.
There's also,
Yes.
you can have little diesel tanks underground, you would build the foundations out, so. Yeah, that is this, like exactly what a contingency could be used for.
And especially in a renovation or when you're redoing a property that's been there for years, it's like you don't know what you're gonna find, what kind of magic. And I come across that all the time. So yeah, the contingency is key.
So through the chair, is there any other feedback that you're hoping to get from the committee or?
I guess once it's been digested, processed, maybe, thank you, Charles.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like I said, they're all concepts still, guys, I'm not married to the plan, right? And if you guys have some comments that were, maybe add some closets over around this area here. To show that as part of the base plan for people.
Or alternatively, provide feedback on why that might not be a good idea.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
That square footage is precious when you sometimes in hindsight want the second guest to be able to sit down in the chair in your living room rather than have that closet space, which usually just gets packed with whatever you inside.
Well, that loft will be really handy for
Absolutely.
storage.
yeah, that could be using the, finished attic space kind of, right? So. Okay, all right. Well, thank you very much for coming and presenting and it
Looking
was,
forward to working with you guys.
all right.
Likewise.
Okay, so under 4B now, we have project kickoff housing projects. Expression of interest number 20-147. And Mike, are you ready to go?
Yes, yeah. Would you like me to share my screen or?
Sure, that would be great.
Oh, it says I cannot share screen while other participant is sharing.
Just a second. Try sharing now.
Is that working?
Yeah.
Yep. Well, and are you okay? Do you want us, would you prefer that we ask you questions throughout the presentation or do you want us to wait?
Absolutely, yeah. So I have set this up in a little bit different format. And then really this is just to lead the discussion so that I could get an idea about what kind of concepts you're looking for, what you want to produce, how many. So I've made just kind of an agenda that sets out a project objective, make sure we're on the same page. And I would like to go through some existing conditions of the R1 zone, just because I'm not from Sycamoose and I don't really have most of this has already been answered. Actually, a lot of it has been discussed a little bit, but I would like to just sort of make sure that I'm on the right page when I go forward to do the concept designs. And then go through some of the building types, design guidelines, scope out the project, and propose a sequence. So really, yeah, like I say, this is meant just to lead the discussion. As much information as you can provide me, that would be ideal.
Okay, take it away.
So first off, project objective. This is very simple. Develop design guidelines to produce a pre-approved plan library. The existing conditions. I understand that this is only going to be, these suites are only going to be in the zone R1. And so I've been just looking at the GIS mapping, and in this R1 zone, I've identified these areas. Can you see my mouse when I move it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, so I'm wondering kind of if there's more specific areas that you're focusing on, or if it's this entire zone that these plans will be available to be used in.
Sarah, can you answer that?
Through the chair, my apologies, is just trying to have a quick conversation with Steffi here. I'm very sorry about that. Yeah, so I think the big kind of push is to really support these suites happening in the R1 zone, our low density areas, but we do have other zones that do allow for secondary suites or employee dwellings where we could end up seeing these built as well. But the focus in terms of promotion is largely in our low density neighborhoods, which would be the R1 zone.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, then I'll try to put together some concepts that will fit kind of in as many of these properties as possible. And so looking at like setback or all the conditions for those are already determined by the regulations in the zoning bylaw, which is setback, lot coverage, floor area, height requirements. The one thing I didn't find was if there's a requirement for the minimum distance from the primary dwelling.
Through the chair, it's not built into zoning. It occasionally comes up through building inspection. I do have Tyson here. We just, through the chair, toss that over to Tyson.
There are requirements for separation.
Would it be like 3 meters typically under the BCBC?
That's to just pull something up.
Okay. Sorry, shouldn't put Tyson on the spot like that. There could be.
No, and you know what? I should also point out, like, this is just really a guideline, obviously, to make the most versatile set of plans. So like if it was really restrictive, like 10 meters or something like that, then you know, that would greatly affect the plan. But yeah, if there isn't a requirement and it's sort of site specific, yeah, that's really all the kind of information I'll need going forward.
And through the chair, just one quick comment too, like stopping anyone to attach them by a breezeway. They can be detached or attached. It's up to the property owner. So if it works better to have a roof between them to sort of resolve any issues like that, then that can be done. Like zoning isn't going to affect that.
Right. So the other, Sarah has already kind of answered these questions and you guys have already discussed this a little bit. I'm a lot of the properties are just from looking at your GIS, some of the properties are in the watershed. Mostly the ones up to the north here were in a watershed development permit area. So I'm wondering if that's something that should be considered with the design, or if that will require a more thorough review process anyways, so that it's sort of not eligible for sort of a blanket plan.
So through the chair, yeah, so a lot of those are either very much larger parcels that can accommodate outside of, and they shouldn't encounter any kind of hardship in terms of unbuildable area associated with a riparian area. The ones where they are along Oak Avenue and Elliott Avenue, Gillis Creek kind of passes through the backyards, and those parcels are a bit smaller. They're more unusual. It's a newer compared to say the Tree Streets.
Right.
And so those ones are a little more constrained, and that would really depend on which property and how it was previously developed as to whether or not they have any buildable area left. They can be pretty tightly constrained. So generally speaking, it's a 15-meter riparian area. The ones up in the Ralma Avenue area on the Eagle River, that's a 30-meter. But like I said, most of those properties are quite large, the ones that are actually abutting the river. So it's kind of 6 one, half a dozen the other. The large bulk of the properties are not impacted by the watercourse development permit area.
Right, yeah, and I guess the size of the property wouldn't really, because they're larger properties, they wouldn't really have an impact on the design of a garden suite or something like that. It would be mostly the process of getting those plans approved for those specific lots. Is that correct?
Correct, yeah. If the siting happens to be within the development permit area itself, correct.
Yeah. Okay. Same question for the floodplain. A lot of those, from what I could see, most of these, the tree streets, about 60% of those lots are in the floodplain as it's identified on the GIS.
Through the chair, yeah, for the 200-year floodplain, it's got a lot of fingers that kind of move through there. I have access to other mapping that kind of shows a depth of the water and gives a better idea of what the finished grade is now, right? So that 200-year floodplain was mapped back in the 70s, 80s, 90s kind of thing. And, you know, a lot of development has occurred since then and fill has been placed. So it's mostly south of Capel where the lots are significantly impacted in terms of perhaps needing to, you know, structurally elevate significantly. But the rest of the properties, you know, in talking with a local builder who did come in and do some support for the committee answering questions, it didn't sound like it was going to be that much in terms of, so it might be like 1 to maximum 3 steps up into up to the sill plate kind of thing to access the building.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is it kind of safe to assume, like, to have a really versatile plan, should I just assume that there'll all be crawl spaces with 3 steps up, or?
Yeah, through the chair.
Extreme, sorry.
Okay, go ahead, Malcolm.
Yeah. I don't think that would be a good assumption to blanket the community. Council is looking at a variance to that 351 build based on the location and where it is in the floodplain, or if it is in the floodplain. I think there's a blanket code in town right now at 351, which seems a little onerous if it's not in a floodplain. Or so I think council's looking at a variance to that 351 build. And we had a builder in here saying that if you had to add that crawl space and build to 351, you're adding $10,000 to the cost of the build. And I don't think we need to automatically add that cost, and it would have to be site specific, but I don't think it's fair to blanket the town with that assumption.
And through the chair, it's not gonna impact most of the properties. $10,000 to have a structural elevation via the crawl space. It'll be limited to which properties.
So a lot of these types of buildings that exist right now, they're slab on grade?
Through the chair, they're a mix. So some of them are on foundations, some are slab on grade, some are actually on basements that have habitable space in those basements. It's a mix.
Got older builds.
Yes.
Chair, 1975 era, there's a lot of builds in Sycamoose, and they built basements in floodplains.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Chair, also split level.
Yeah, split level, bi-levels,
Lot of
there's,
split levels.
yeah.
Yeah, in those years as well.
Okay.
Like on.
Yeah, I'm again just sort of trying to get an idea of what to plan for. The foundation doesn't necessarily like for the design, it won't necessarily dictate the floor plan or anything like that. It's mostly just about properly preparing for HVAC and that sort of thing. The services, if we need, for example, if we have a slab on grade, you probably want a little bit better mechanical room at that level rather than being able to put everything into a crawl space or something like that. That's really the only way it would affect the plan. And I guess the floodplain does affect the approval process. What is the process to build in the floodplain now? Is it just getting a geotech assessment?
Through the chair. So generally speaking, in the neighborhoods that we're talking about, it's just ensuring that you meet that geodetic elevation of just over 351. So the flood level is 351. And then it sounds like, beyond that, having a geotech, I think it's mostly just a schedule that folks have submitted. And as far as going even further than that, I mean, that would be very extreme cases where we're in like a steep slope hazard area. I'm just looking at Tyson, our building is in the crowd here today.
So it really is just like a surveyor verifies the foundation height or something like that. That's all you need.
Malcolm?
Yeah, through the chair. In most places in Sycamoose, you go down a couple of feet through your soils and your organics, and there's a sand basin there. So
Oh, okay.
pretty much through most of Sycamoose. You dig too far and you're hitting sand.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And the water table's not that low, or the groundwater, like it's because we're close to the water, Shuswap and Mare Lake and the channel, so.
Through the chair. And yeah, that's more like Riverside Avenue area, which isn't really where we're targeting. Those are higher density zoned areas. They're not really where the R1 is.
Gotcha.
Where there is issues with the water table. I mean, and I'm not saying that the property south of Capel don't, because the creek runs through there too. There could be. Can certainly find out if you want me to do some sussing out.
Oh, no, that's all right. I'm mostly just trying to get an idea. Yeah, average lot size and heritage buildings. Sarah has filled me in on some of that. There's no heritage buildings in Sycamoose, no heritage requirements for any of these buildings. And the average lot size we're looking at is about 900 square meters. So I've drawn up kind of hopefully a site plan that identifies, I think most of these types of buildings, based on what I can see, would be located in the rear yard. Is there any allowance for secondary dwellings in the front yards of, or is there permission to do that in Sycamoose?
Through the chair. So currently our official community plan has a policy statement that doesn't support that, but our zoning bylaw doesn't regulate that. So as long as you're meeting the setbacks, so the front, the 6 meter front setback and then the 1.5 on the side, there isn't anything stopping someone from doing that.
Gotcha. Okay, so yeah, this is probably the typical scenario then, that like there will be a driveway that goes past the house into a rear yard where the building will be. And so you can see the minimum area. This is kind of a typical lot with the setbacks identified here, and then this is the 32 square meter area, and then this is a 56 square meter area just in a square. So it gives you an idea of the siting, how much of the rear yard it would typically take up. And then so we've identified 3 different building types: a garden suite, which would be a single story, or I guess with the height restriction, it could be 1.5 stories, or a flat roof. It could be 2-story, 1 or 2 bedroom, and that would be governed sort of by the regulations of an accessory building. Same with the carriage house, except above, or I guess carriage house is the same thing as a coach house. I believe that's what is in your bylaw. I've always thought of it, I guess, as a suite above a garage, but it could be beside in your case.
That's correct. Our bylaw does allow for that, and that's to help with our accessibility goals. So the garage could be beside to make a space that someone could access more easily.
Okay. And also the regulations, it's regulated as an accessory building. The secondary suite is connected to the primary dwelling either through roof or foundation structure.
That's correct.
And so the setbacks, I guess, are different a little bit for that because it's the primary part of the primary dwelling.
That's correct.
Okay. That's all pretty straightforward.
I just have a question then. On the secondary suite, if it's attached to the primary dwelling, does it have that same allowance for a higher height?
That's right. So if it's attached to the primary dwelling, you've now got a 10-meter height.
10-meter height?
Yeah.
So for the design of a secondary suite, I think there's a lot of, or it seems to me that there's a lot of probably restrictions based on the floor areas of the existing building and that sort of thing. So to develop a plan that would work for numerous buildings could be a little bit tricky. So I'm wondering how many concepts do you want to see around that? Like, is it really just to suit one type of house that has, you know, like this split level type of house? Or
I think we're looking at, you know, in general, most of the houses are around 1,200 square feet. And obviously there are going to be outliers there where they might be more like 1,500 to 1,800.
Yeah.
Which is sort of why in the EOI we looked at, you know, asking for plans that could potentially accommodate additions to them in the future. So, you know, that would be optional. So say somebody does have a bigger house and they could have a bigger secondary suite, they could build that addition outright as part of the plan in the first place.
Right. So I guess this is more a question about like the process of somebody buying a plan for a secondary suite and having it kind of be pre-approved. Is this plan more than like a kind of a scheme? For example, if you have a house that's like 20 feet wide or something like that, and the idea is to add on to the side of it to have a secondary suite, should that plan be versatile enough? And what would the process be for approving this to say fit a house that's also 24 feet wide? Does that make sense?
Through the chair, It does, and I think, you know, that we do have a few existing examples in the community right now where the suite runs, so the main house runs across the lot. And then the suite is attached by a carport. And it runs down the side of the lot, so it's longer than the house is wide. And it looks great, it doesn't seem, if you know what I'm getting at, like in the
Yeah.
carport tends to be smaller just because the houses do take up a lot of space across the front. It's just not like it's a double carport, it's a single car carport.
Gotcha.
You
So
kinda
the
get-
idea is there's a breezeway or a carport or something that takes up that difference in maybe so that it could fit a house that's 20 feet wide or 24 feet wide or et cetera.
Right, so the carport would be that interface between two buildings that are not the same size, same width or depth, I guess.
Gotcha. Yeah, perfect.
Well,
Yeah.
through the chair, actually, my house is like that. And Brenda, you were just looking at it. We were talking about you could something like build a garage out where the carport is, make part of that carport the house and build back.
Yeah, the setback, the driveway setback to the garage would have to be accommodated, but I said, you know,
Yeah.
so different way to look at it. It's like we have to spin it.
Instead of.
Yeah,
And that one on Pine was like that, right? Where it's almost like a two-story secondary suite that's attached to the back of the garage. So the garage is an attached garage and the suite is like partially over the garage and behind the garage.
Mhm.
And there's several homes like
They're like that, yeah.
Okay.
So I can send you pictures of some of these if you want, Mike, if that kind of helps you.
Yeah, that would be great, actually. Though that's really, I mean, the carriage house and the garden suite, those are easy to visualize. It's the secondary suite that I was kind of wondering how that works. Although that makes a lot of sense if there is this sort of element of the building that connects it, that's not you know, not connected to the foundation or not connected to like the circulation or the use really of the other building, of the primary dwelling.
Correct, yeah, like access doesn't necessarily need to be to the principal building. It could have its own separate access, it's access down the side yard.
Totally.
Yeah.
Excellent. So I'll just move on. These are some of the design guidelines that I'll use to produce the concept designs. Citing, we've mentioned this already, conforms to accessory building regulations for a garden suite or carriage house with regards to setback and height, etc. And same with secondary suites, they'll have to conform to primary dwelling regulations to determine the siting. Do you want to see site elements in the, is there a requirement for outdoor space or yeah, ways entrances are faced or something like that to fit into the neighborhoods? All of these questions really are kind of designed around finding or defining a set of rules to make sure that these buildings fit into the neighborhoods in a non-obtrusive way. So I always like to kind of regulate or have some rules about planting. So if you're building a garden suite, that you have to have a certain amount of trees or a certain kind of landscape design around it that separates it from the house or connects it to the house or something like that. Is that something that you want to see on the plans?
Through the chair, so we don't have regulations that require any of that. And I'll let the committee speak to what they should be included, but it's not, these are not happening in areas that are gonna trigger a development permit where we're gonna be looking at those things. I know that the committee in past meetings has expressed concern about overlook and privacy. So considerations for that type of thing, in terms of, you know, something that might be designed to go down the side of a property where you've got a left and a right version, like inverted versions where, you know, windows that might be near a property line, they're obviously going to be restricted by fire separation, but also, you know, considering whether or not you might be looking directly into someone else's window next door or their backyard. So maybe those should be windows that are higher up on the wall and are designed to let in light as opposed to allow someone to see out.
Right.
And I'll let the committee speak more to that kind of thing.
I think the only thing that I think of is curb appeal, but that's because that's kind of in my wheelhouse work-wise, but I think it's important that as the community builds out and we have these things, that we're not leaving lots looking kind of like a disaster, like the parking, and whether it be just minor, like we don't want to create a huge cost for homeowners because they're going through this process, but I feel like it's an important thing to have some kind of regulation or rule around, you know, what is proposed and yeah.
Isn't that where form and character comes in?
Well, it is, but if we're not, yeah, go ahead, Sarah, answer that.
Through the chair. So I think like part of the idea is that there is an opportunity for the district to invest in plans that already exhibit a good form and character, right? So not going for something totally bare bones and completely economical, but something that no matter how you finish the exterior, it's still going to it's still going to follow good design practice in general.
Well, and I'm speaking specific to green softscape. So you're so many shrubs or so many, you know, like just something so that it's like, if the bulk of your yard has something, we at least balance it out a little bit. So. Okay, and that may be getting too deep, but
It's
yeah,
it's all about cost. We're trying to
correct.
be affordable and attainable here. So the more prescriptive you are,
Yeah.
the more the cost is. So the more.
True,
It's-
absolutely true, but we also want to make sure that when somebody's doing this, that it's,
But that would default, sorry,
okay,
no, we're just,
yeah,
that would default to, I think, forming character in the building permit.
Okay.
As a minimum. And yeah, the more prescriptive we are, the more there is in cost.
yeah, agreed. Okay, Siobhan, any comment?
I'm good.
Okay, Tia? Okay,
So, yeah, so those are just a few points around citing, just things to, I guess, consider and discuss when I put together or think about when I'm putting together a plan. So then the next point is building design. This involves architectural style, elements like accessibility, materiality, entrances, lighting, exterior lighting, roof forms, everything that makes up, the form and character. I'd like to kind of get, we can talk about this later when we kind of scope out the project, but I'd like to get an idea of what you would like to see. You know, if you want sort of like one modern option or a traditional option, or you know, how many different type, how wide of a range you want to see between the two, or something like that, and just the level of detail, like are we specifying materials, or are we leaving that up to homeowners or their budgets or something like that, or should we be specifying options, like if there's like a bare bones material we can use, this is the cheapest one you can do, or if you want to have sort of upgrades, do you want to see those types of things? It might be a nice way to sell somebody the same floor plan but have different options for making the building a little bit more suitable to their yard. Same thing with windows. We can specify different types of windows. I imagine a lot of this might also have to do with the builder, whoever people decide to build with. So it might be something that we just kind of leave out and leave as very generic, but I can do some work around that if it's desired.
Malcolm, go ahead.
Yeah, getting through the chair, like we discussed with our first proponent. That would default to the client, I would think. Again, we don't want to be prescriptive. If the client wants the building to be fireproof, well, then their insurance rates will drop. Their insurance costs will drop. If the client wants it to be maintenance free, well, then their upfront costs would increase in a capital cost, but their maintenance costs would decrease. So again, that is all dictated by the client.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
we wouldn't want to be prescriptive from that side, I don't think.
Okay, so it's just sort of, like for Windows, we would just note like this has to be whatever to code.
That's just my opinion.
Okay, same thing around sustainability. Is it the idea that we would have a prescribed HVAC system for the plan for each of these buildings, or not? And also, if you would like to have a mechanical or electrical engineer go through these plans.
Through the chair. So at bare minimum, we just want to make sure that the plans are going to meet step code 3. And so you might provide a few options in terms of what that might look like. And I think there's an expectation that BC will be implementing a higher step code. I think maybe perhaps you were telling me about this, Mike, by next year.
Well, there's supposed to be a new building code, I think, coming out. I don't know. I don't think it'll go to a higher step code, but there is supposed to be an updated building code in January, I believe.
Okay, so generally step code 3 and whatever options there are to help someone meet that. Because so from what I understand, it might be better insulation in your crawl space, or maybe it is insulation in your roof or equipment is what I understand.
Yeah, they look at equipment options, and it could significantly change the design. For example, if somebody wants to have wood burning fireplace or something like that, then they'll need different types of makeup air equipment and that sort of thing. So really, I would just kind of like to know what level we should design that to.
Agree with the chair. So Sycamoose doesn't have natural gas. So any heating is going to be electric, whether it's a baseboard or an electric furnace or one of these split. I can't remember what it's called. Those little mini ductless splits. Yeah. And as far as wood burning, we don't have any regulations. We can't do it, but I know that there's a lot of incentives and initiatives to move away from wood burning. So I'm not sure how much we would want to look at something like that.
Okay.
And that's
Yeah, you know what? That's a good, if the main source of heat is electric, and we plan for like electric heat pump or electric furnace or something like that, that's probably all the detail I need to know for that. And then again, servicing, I think you guys talked about this already. I was just wondering if it was a requirement that a building like this be on its own meter for everything, water, sewer, gas.
Through the chair. That's something that at this time is left up to the homeowner, if that's something that they want to be able to do, because it is an added cost. Though if they can afford it up front, then they can, bill their tenant appropriately for those services. But otherwise, we don't have any regulations currently that require them to have separate metering, whether that's for water or sewer or electrical. Though I can't speak for BC Hydro.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
That's great. So the next part is really just scoping out the projects. How many concept design, and this is really how many concept designs do you want to see? I'll do floor plans and exterior elevations for, I guess, as many garden suites, coach houses, or secondary suites. Just kind of need to know how many you want to see, and sort of what level. Like, do you want to see one bedroom, 1 2-bedroom, etc.?
So through the chair, these would be concepts that we would we were talking about using to be public consultation.
Okay,
For what, Sarah? Sorry?
So concepts. So what I've been talking to both the proponents about is providing concepts, because the committee wanted to do some public engagement first. And that in the end, a total of 6 sets of construction plans were what the district wanted to buy.
From each proponent.
Exactly. And so at this point, do you know how many of each type of plan you ultimately would plan on purchasing from each proponent, or would you want to leave that to public consultation in terms of deciding which and what type?
Siobhan?
Through the chair, yeah, I think the public needs to lead it because we can think what we think we know, but that may not be what people want, right? So I think that's why we're having public consultation, is just kind of to get that feel. So
In terms of how many bedrooms, and should they be above a garage, beside a garage, or should it be attached or garden suite?
yeah, and I mean, I think if we have kind of square foot patterns, that something can be a flex space, an office, a second bedroom. You know, when you look at the designs, you can, when you get it, you can make it into kind of what you want to, right? And how much money you want to spend and that. So if we've got a basic kind of base price on square foot, and then of course with the foundation, that'll change what kind of cladding you want to put on the outside. And, you know, if you put no cupboards in, or, you know, no main cupboards, they're going to change what they want. But I think the big thing is just more like, here is a base model. Now you can kind of play with it. So it could be a 1-bedroom and a flex, or it can be a 1-bedroom, it could be a 2-bedroom, right? So I think that's more, but I think the community has to have a say on what they're looking for, right? If they're putting their
Okay.
grandmas in it, or are they looking at rental suites?
Yeah, Malcolm?
Yeah, I think through the chair, I sort of agree,
Sort of.
sort of on that one. Oh, it's 20 after too. Well, you know, I mean, we're elected officials, a couple of us, and the public relies on our leadership a little bit, and we have done public consultation, and the public has engaged, and we have done surveys to show what kind of need. We do have a housing needs assessment that we've done, and that housing needs assessment shows a gap right across the housing continuum. For seniors, for young families, for people with disabilities, for service, seasonal workers. So I think we have to provide a little bit of leadership, and we don't want to drown ourselves in public consultation, because I think we've done that. And I think we have to be fair to both our contractors. They have an expectation, and through contract law, we have to, treat both proponents equally. So whatever we decide, we would want the same volume from both our proponents. So I think we need to stick with 6 drawings from each proponent as per our budget.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And I think as a committee, that's something that we either decide we have to go into more public consultation. I don't honestly see that changing anything or giving us any more direction than we already have. And then make a decision on, I mean, we're early days in year 1. We can tell the contractor, we've had a flood of requests for cottage houses, so we're going to drop off the secondary suites and go more in cottage houses. We'll have to learn as we go. We're in early days. So I think we just have to put something out there to provide a little leadership for the community and ask for 6 drawings each. And as a committee, we'll figure out what those are.
Yes, Tia, go ahead.
Sure. Well, I mean, we clearly have 2 different things here. We have the concepts and then we have the designs.
Yes.
So I think that's what he was asking is, I agree. What people don't know, they don't know
Mhm.
is for the concepts themselves. I think people, they're, like you said, there's such a big variety. However, I think, if we give them even 2, kind of each to start with, and see where it goes.
Yeah.
That's totally fine. I mean, for me, I don't need a definitive answer. If this is going to be a process that is ongoing, and like you've said, if we do 2 of each, and through public consultation, there is 1000% more interest in a garden suite, then we can continue to develop, 6 more concepts just for that are maybe we can do 2 garden suites that are specific for young families, 2 garden suites that are specific to the needs of seniors, or some other criteria like that. So really, if to start, we do a concept design, say for 2 garden suites, 2 coach houses, and 2 secondary suites. I can take, I can take the liberty to kind of make that represent a wide range of everything else that we've talked about: accessibility, sustainability, modern versus contemporary, or versus traditional, or something. My sense is that in Sicamous there's more of a desire for buildings that fit in that don't really contrast with the existing infrastructure and existing buildings. So I'm just wondering how much you see that changing, or if you see it changing at all, and if that's something that I should put some time into designing for.
I think I just want to follow up on the comment of the committee that I agree with that, taking the concepts to public to get their input. It is them investing, it is us, the district, giving them the opportunity to do this. And I think for sure, they're the ones that are going to be making the investments. So they need to have that say. The public consultation is key. And the 2 and 2 and 2. So your question now is about the exterior elements and what that looks like. Is that correct?
Yeah, sort of, I guess. Just the overall
Style.
Yeah, the overall style of the house. What kind of a range you want to see? Should it be, we can design something that's crazy minimalist modern that might appeal more to a young family, or something that kind of just soaks right into a backyard and is nice and traditional and cozy and cottage-like, that sort of warmth.
Okay, Siobhan?
Yeah, through the chair, I think the area we're focusing on right now is the tree streets, and they're kind of the 70s and 80s, split level, 3-bedroom up, a basement down. But I also think, that being said, with the new builds in town, we do have a little bit more modern going on here in Sicamous. There's a couple, it's coming. So we're not, downtown Vancouver yet, but I think there is a mix. Like, I don't think people are opposed when they see, if you go over to Hemlock and areas like that, there's some little houses with flat roofs and little square and more windows. So I think we do want stuff that blends so that the neighbors aren't going to be having a panic attack. But how that blends, I think it still can be contemporary while doing it. Is that?
And I think if you do 2 floor plans, it's those exterior finishes you use that are going to dictate the style it leans to. So if you do one in a more modern, if you're going to do 2 of the carriage house, do one with a little bit more modern finish on the outside and another one a little bit more traditional.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a lot of stucco in this community too, as well as hardy siding, but the hardy price goes up. So trying to keep it, with pricing down, I think, yes, go ahead.
And we do have a fire issue here.
Mhm.
So we live in the middle of a forest, and we were threatened 3-4 years ago, very closely, where part of our community was evacuated. And even this year, within 30 kilometers to some of our homes, we were threatened by a very large forest fire. So I think that also has to go into the building designs, or at least be given an option. We can't force people to do that, but I think if it's in the plans, or, hey, here's a check mark we can add. So when the fire does come, because it's not if, people are a little bit more set up.
Yeah, excellent.
Any other comments?
Well, yeah, so difference between the concept and so I agree 2, 2, and 2, and I agree that maybe one contemporary, one modern. Or
And-
one,
Yeah,
70s, 80s sort of thing, and one more modern.
yeah.
And then take those and have some public consultation.
I think the feedback from that
Yeah.
then gives them clear direction as to which plans we're gonna go with.
Yeah.
That's it.
It's a good start.
Yeah, perfect. I think that's a great start, and yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me. Then you sort of cover a wide range of interests, and you'll see right away the direction that your residents want to go in. So, okay, then after that, we would go to building permit plans. We don't have to scope this part of it out now, but this is something that, yeah, it maybe just speaks more to how I like to set up projects. I like to do a really quite thorough conceptual schematic design. And then once those are approved, you can choose to go ahead and do building permit plans for 3 or 1 or more, or it doesn't matter, all of them. And so the building permit plans then would include floor plans, exterior elevation sections, envelope details, construction notes, and they would be coordinated with structural engineers, geotech, that sort of thing. And so in terms of the project sequence, just so we're on the same page, this meeting or this kind of consultation where we develop the guidelines and scope, which we're doing right now. And then after this, I can produce the number of concept designs. And then once we have those designs, we can kind of iterate through them to develop them more to your liking, to make them suit your needs for your community. And then you guys can send them to community consultation. And after that, either we go back and do more conceptual design, schematic design, or we can proceed to putting this library together. And that's all just to say that's sort of my assumption of how it's going to work. I just wanted to lay it out so that we're all on the same page. And yeah, if you have any comments about that.
Sarah, do you want to comment on that, on his schedule, what he just?
Through the chair, yeah, so there was an ask in terms of coming back again. So have this scoping conversation, prep some concepts, and then because of the timeline that the housing committee talked about last meeting, perhaps look at scheduling another meeting for November, say the 16th or 15th, whichever day is the Thursday, to go over those concepts. And then that's something that we have some other dates that we had roughed out last meeting around when we would go to committee of the whole with our consultation plan. We've been talking about doing like just a survey, like which ones do you like the best kind of thing. And doing that late January throughout February before selecting which ones we're going to be drawn up as final construction plans the district would purchase.
Okay.
Does that sound?
That sounds good.
Generally.
I think generally what we discussed, yeah. Okay, any other questions for Mike? Before we go, or? Thank you. Mike, do you have any final comments?
No.
Okay, well, thank you very much for presenting and spending this time with us today. Really appreciate it. And
Likewise.
look forward to what you come up with.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, under new business 4C, we have additional building plans 2024. Sarah?
Through the chair. So last meeting, there was some discussion about upcoming deliberations of the select finance committee around budget planning for next year. That's going to be happening soon. So I did have a conversation.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks. And she suggested the best way forward was to consider making a recommendation to council about how hosting another EOI for 2024. It would then be the trigger for that budget conversation in those meetings. So get that resolution before council first, that recommendation for a resolution, and then from there we go to that finance committee and then look at start collecting information about how much should be set aside for that budget. So yeah, go up. Two more slides, please. Sorry, folks, I think our batteries might be dying.
Okay,
Oh, I replaced the battery, but it's still not working.
Up another one. No.
We're done.
so,
Wrong direction.
oh, yeah, Janae, to Janae.
Yeah, if the committee wants to move that
Recommendation, okay. So do you want me to read it first?
Sure.
Okay, so I'll read the recommendation. That the Housing Committee recommends to Council that a housing expression of interest be completed in 2024 to seek proponents interested in providing two unit dwelling plans.
Well,
Move it. Okay, Malcolm. Second, Siobhan. Oh, do we do all in favor?
no discussion.
Discussion, yeah. You threw me. You threw me the last time, okay. Discussion. Yes, Malcolm.
This is new to me. Like, what is this 2-unit dwelling?
Well, I was gonna ask the 2-unit, is that duplexes?
Yes,
Okay,
Okay, we're talking duplexes
sorry, that's just the term that's used.
and my second part of the question is like, we don't know the cost, so what are we gonna ask council for when we don't know ourselves?
Through the chair. So this is what Kelly recommended, is that this recommendation would trigger that staff to be able to do that fact finding to find out how much should be set aside for the budget.
this particular.
Yes.
Yeah, I just can't see council
Yeah.
Approving this without knowing the cost associated with it. Because this is a blank check. We have to put a caveat on this resolution
Yeah.
before council is gonna approve it.
Siobhan? Okay, Siobhan?
Through the chair too, and did we decide that we were going from garden suites to 2-unit, or should we be going to 4-unit, or something we've discussed or seen anything about? Like, it just, I'm like, wow, so how do we know we need 2 units?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Through the
Yeah,
chair, through the
okay.
chair. Sorry, this was based on some past conversations that the housing committee has had around what our existing zoning already allows and kind of where the district is at with implementation of the housing strategy in terms of zones that would contemplate higher density. And there being some discomfort with moving forward with that ahead of having our complete communities assessment done, for example, in terms of looking at available servicing and whether or not it could support more units, principal units as opposed to accessory units. So it's up to the committee if the committee wants to recommend something else. However, duplexes is something that our zoning currently does allow, and is a one way of promoting additional density. There's been a lot of interest in that when folks come looking and asking, it's like, well, the zone already supports this. Oh, sweet. I subdivide this in half, but I then do 2 duplexes. Right?
Or can I buy a lot and put in a duplex if I do an up, down or
Right.
front, back, if it's a longer lot? Yeah.
Right, so there's that subdivision on Rama, and they're gonna put in 2 up-down duplexes. Right, so they split the lot in half and they're gonna put an up-down duplex here and an up-down duplex here and apply for variance so that they can be at 0 where the garages are. Garages would meet at 0.
I guess, yes, Siobhan.
Just to the chair, I think we should table this to our next meeting and maybe get some more information on it before we make a recommendation, because I don't actually know what I'm recommending, and I don't know, I haven't had time to look at it and get some information, so that's just my 2 cents.
Based on this, are we asking these that just did the presentations, is that part of that? Is that they're gonna be asking concepts from them for this?
Potentially, you could, or no.
Yeah, or not necessarily, right? It was just brand new.
Yeah, through the chair,
Yes.
my question is the same as Tia's sort of. is this part of our infill strategy, or is this just a planned library for a developer to come to the front desk and buy a vacant lot and put a duplex on it?
Through the chair. So this is based on past conversations about wanting to expand the library and include other building types. And there have been ongoing conversations around things like row houses or fourplexes, that kind of thing. And the suggestion here is to do duplexes because that's what we have zoning for.
And I would comment saying I'm kind of in the same page as Siobhan, is like, we haven't got one package ready to go and see how that works out and see if what that does with our community and how it rolls out. I would feel better tabling it as well to a little bit later. We're going to find out more when we feel like we've got this thing that's solid in front of us.
Through the chair.
Yes.
At the same point, if it's something that these two that just
Mhm.
presented would be part of the money that they are already, it
No,
would be above and beyond
yeah,
that.
no.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's beyond that. It's-
Yeah.
we're budgeting.
New budget item for
Okay.
something else. Go ahead, Siobhan.
Through the chair, and I would be open to recommending that the housing committee does get a budget. I'd like to see a bigger budget for upcoming plans and things that, so we have money in our finances put aside, because though these meetings are coming up in November. So we do, if we want money, we need to ask for it. But you know, when we started, we asked for 10 grand and we realized that we needed 16 just to start and work on this project. But the next one, we don't know the money. So do we ask for 16? Do we ask for 24? And again, when we go in and make that ask, we say there needs to be room on either side. We're not sure where, you know, the next step, we're still working on secondary suites. Do we need garden suites? Are we going to be going to fourplexes? The provincial and federal government's changing housing like left, right, and center. It's moving so fast, you can't even keep up. And that is beyond our choices.
Mhm.
We're being told exactly what we're going to be doing. And we do have the study coming through. So I don't know if maybe the recommendation should be that we just, you know, recommend that the housing committee gets $24,000 towards new plans as we decide as things come down the pipe, right? I don't know. I don't want to ask for a specific thing because we haven't really looked into what our next steps are. I don't feel comfortable. I don't feel like I've got
I like-
information personally.
Malcolm?
Well, again, I half agree with Councillor Rich. Yeah, I mean,
Agree?
so I half,
Disagree?
half,
Agree.
pretty much, well, I agree with everything you
No,
said. I agree with
So good,
everything
I'm
you
good.
said, really. Yeah, I mean, do we need twin units or do we need a triplex or do we need a fourplex? We don't know. We don't know what the developers want. We don't know what the community wants. We don't know what, like I said earlier, what our housing needs are. Like the enthusiasm of staff, I don't think we can afford to just run on a singular path, like in project management terms, a finished start scenario.
Mhm.
I think we have to run parallel tasks at the same time. So not just our infill thing that we're seem to be fine tuning now with two proponents and two and two drawing
Mhm.
component, which is good. I don't think we need to finish that before we start something else. We are in a housing crisis. But I do agree we need more information. And what we should do next. I think instead of being specific to 2-unit dwelling units, we could just put a period at the end of 2024, or no, to seek proponents interested in providing, just cross out 2-unit, just cross out that 2-unit in providing dwelling plans. So we're not,
Yeah, or optional, yeah, okay.
we're not specific to what type. And because we need to drill a little deeper in that first, like Councillor Rich said.
Okay, so should I half agree with Councillor Rich?
So I'm suggesting I'm suggesting an amendment,
Yeah.
friendly amendment to the resolution to strike out 2-unit
Providing,
and just have it read to seek proponents interested in providing dwelling plans.
Yes, Siobhan?
Through the chair, I think too, the other thing we need to do is, and I don't know how we do this, but have some kind of dollar amount that we're asking for. So that that money is set aside for the housing funds. So we're not, then going back to council in 6 months going, hey, we want some money, and they say, that's not in the financial plan. I think if we ask for it now and it's built into the plan,
Okay,
what that dollar amount looks like, I don't know.
could we say recommended up to $20,000? Or do you want to not put a number in?
Well, through the chair,
Yeah,
No, it's not.
Sarah mentioned that this is a recommendation from our
right,
CFO, who's now our CAO,
yes,
to put this resolution in so we can direct staff to look at costs.
okay,
So this is the trigger to identify costs.
okay, so we don't
I
need to
agree.
give a number, okay,
Perfect.
Yes.
okay, all right, okay, so we want to change the recommendation. Alter the recommendation to read,
So I made the
I will do
motion.
this.
Someone's got
Okay.
to second it.
all right, let's do it. Okay, you make the motion,
Yeah, and Siobhan.
I'll second it, okay. All in favor?
Of discussion.
Well, I thought
But we still got to do the protocol.
pardon me.
We have fun.
Hey.
Housing.
I know. All right, discussion. No discussion?
Well, it's just a.
Okay, it's a preliminary procedural thing. All in favor? Carried, okay. So recommendation that the Housing Committee recommends to council that a housing expression of interest be completed in 2024 to seek proponents interested in providing dwelling plans.
Yeah.
Do I have a mover? Or do I have not a,
Just-
so we just did.
Yeah.
It's in the middle. Oh, my God.
No, you've been here 9 years, 10 now.
Yeah, okay,
Easy.
all right. Okay,
Right, yeah.
10.
so D, next steps and upcoming meetings. Has anybody been at any kind of housing or have anything that they want to comment on here? Our next scheduled meeting is,
I want to say something.
yes, okay,
I've been in Revelstoke a lot because of volleyball,
Right.
and they have some really good buildings going on around
Mhm.
Revelstoke.
we do.
They are putting in staff accommodation, CPR is, the ski mountain is, when I'm trying to get away from my child, I drive around and look at housing. But there's a lot of really neat buildings. There's some going in downtown where there's, commercial on the bottom, and they're building 3 or 4. The one it was 6 stories, so commercial on the bottom and 6 up, but,
We're doing that.
we are, but if you happen to be in Revelstoke, do take the time and do a drive around. There's a lot of stuff going on. It's good to see.
Yes, okay. Anybody else? Sarah,
Through the chair. So today's meeting was a special meeting. And then there was a request from Housing to have an additional meeting this month to kind of meet the timelines that the committee's kind of working on. And that would be for November 16th.
okay, November 16th.
Thursday is available.
Is that something, so Housing's requested that?
Yeah, so that they can present concepts to you. Today, they wanted to do scoping, make sure that, they've got the parameters clear, and then they were gonna prepare concepts. And so they wanted to bring those to you for some feedback. And then we'll have all our concepts that we could then start designing some consultation around.
Okay.
Through the chair. Oh, sorry, didn't mean.
Okay, I was gonna say, will then you follow up with McDermott on doing the same thing, 2, 2, and 2? Is that the idea, or is that just what Housing's going to present for conceptual? Because I feel like they should be doing kind of the same thing, give the community,
That's just what I was gonna say.
okay, the same story.
Sure. For the chair, I think that's up to the housing committee. Ultimately, the district will be looking to buy 3 plans from each proponent. Whether or not you want to lock yourselves into how many of each specific type at this point prior to consultation, right? So McDermott, they've already put together like eight or nine.
Okay. That's good.
they were very excited and then just ran with it.
Okay.
So, and there's some pretty creative different ones, which are super exciting.
Yeah, I thought they already did all that.
There were.
Well, I thought they did too, but I just
Yeah.
didn't know if they've got 8, so.
2 weeks from now at 1 o'clock, is that what we're thinking?
1 o'clock works?
Terms of reference allows you to change the time.
Just one other thing for the chair, one of the things that I didn't have, that I didn't see in here was, what we talked about more was the, addition to the house. Or, you know, building onto it. They had more separate buildings, did they not?
Yes, they've
So
got,
do we want to give them an opportunity to do a concept on that?
Secondary dwellings?
Like,
No, what's it?
on a,
Garden suite.
no.
No, it's
Is that what we were calling them?
It was on.
secondary suites. Yeah, secondary suites.
Yeah.
Because they're attached to the.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're
But
right.
that was one of the concepts that they didn't provide or whatever in there, so that I didn't see, or did they? Are those,
No, I
I
think
don't
they did.
remember seeing one.
they didn't. Could any of these be adapted to that?
Well,
More than
I
likely,
was
yeah.
just thinking that maybe we should give them
Oh.
the opportunity to
Just
do that,
clarify
just so that, yeah.
Basically, like through the chair, we need to have both proponents talking apples on apples.
Yeah.
Oranges and oranges.
So maybe they take one of these plans and they make it so that it will apply to adding to the front of a split.
Because they were still in the meeting when we
Yeah.
discussed that, or when they were talking.
Yeah.
Through the chair, yeah, if that's what you want me to pass on to them, I can ask.
Ask if, yeah,
If they want to.
Shows how that would work.
how that would work with one of the plans they've already got, like, yes,
Good point.
okay,
Okay.
all right. So. It's time for adjournment.
Fun part.
I think there is one more on here that I did wanna, it came up, and so I'd
There was one.
like to talk about this. So are we scheduling another meeting for November 16th?
Yes, yes, please.
And then as far as seminars and conferences, I would love to take this opportunity to let you know about something that just rolled out yesterday
Okay,
that I saw today. And mayors and CAOs are being briefed on this week. But this is all publicly out there. So the technical briefing about the new zoning rules, this thing about 4 dwellings. Interestingly, I did a quick read through it. It wouldn't affect Sycamoose. It's only gonna affect communities of 5,000 and larger.
okay,
So Sycamoose has full control over choosing to do that. And it has been something that our housing strategy contemplated and has started, like we've started working on implementation of that, at least at the OCP level. And then through that zone for secondary suites, but only secondary suites. And so then, I mean, it certainly buys council time in terms of getting that complete communities assessment done and kind of looking at infrastructure and where Sycamoose stands in terms of density.
okay.
And maybe just for the committee, an update on our last council meeting regarding our development across the street here, 27417. Correct me if I'm wrong here, what I'm saying. So our lead proponent is going to put commercial on the bottom, facing Main Street. And is it 4 stories or 5?
He's looking at it. Is this out?
Oh, is that in camera? Scratch that from,
Yeah, scratch that, okay.
is that in camera?
Can't remember.
I don't think,
I think it is.
was that? No. Anyhow, just
Well, there's-
give the committee an update.
You know that there's a
No, gonna-
building.
yeah, off the record, there's nothing, are we being?
We're still taped.
Oh, sorry.
Okay,
Not sure, but I think it is.
number 5, let's adjourn this meeting, 5A. A recommendation that the Housing Committee meeting for November the 2nd, 2023 be adjourned at the time being 2:50 PM. Malcolm? Siobhan? All in favor? I passed.
Remember if it is or not.
I don't, was that in camera?
Yeah.
Whenever he does that, Siobhan just go.
I think I have disagreement.